Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media. I am Ryan Lincoln. I'm back with my co-host Brady Penn. We are back. We are at our home locations now after a great trip to New Orleans. We got plenty of content still rolling out there for you guys. Some interviews we haven't showed yet. Obviously, we had Dietrich on the pod last time we were with you guys. We had Coach with us the day before. I mean, it was a really good trip down in New Orleans. Brady, what are some of your key takeaways from that trip from us?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Anna hit the nail on the head talking to me. She said that what was cool about the experience is that it kind of humanizes these players to us a little bit. Obviously, we see these guys as larger than life figures sometimes, especially a Mahomes, a Kelce, a guy like that, and you get that up close and just talk to them and pick their brain about questions of the upcoming game, and then you just kind of see them walking around like we saw Jalen Carter walking out the restaurant the other day. All these sort of things like yesterday while recording the pod, Max Crosby, George Kittle, Jaden Daniels, Travis Hunter, all these people. Like it was just kind of that was my biggest takeaway. It was like it was really cool, but also just like interesting to just be around these people that we only get to see on Sundays on the field, just live as, people.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I mean, literally, you guys could think of any NFL player. We probably saw them this weekend down in New Orleans. I mean, it was crazy. We were seeing celebrities, we were seeing NFL players, just like people that before heading into the week, we were like, man, like, be crazy if we just ran into them in public. And we just ran into all of them in like a 4-day span. And at some point towards the end of the weekend, we were just less, like, I think, surprised just running into people on the streets or whatever it was. All in all, though, great experience. We'll be back at the next Super Bowl longer than this time. This trip was too short. We needed more time down in New Orleans for more content, and we'll probably try to get into the game next year as well. We'll have a spot on Radio Row every single day for you guys as well. So we'll be recording all the episodes there. But for what you guys all came for in this video, our prediction for the Super Bowl. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Eagles, this is what it's going to decide the three-peat. Can the Chiefs do it, Brady? What are the key matchups on both sides of the ball to take a look at?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just have to look all over. I think on the Eagles' offensive side of the ball, the key is going to be their run offense versus the Chiefs' run defense. I know that we saw the Chiefs' run defense, make some mistakes and not be at their sharpest versus James Cook a couple of weeks ago. And that honestly leads me to believe even more so that Spags is going to correct the issues as best he can and have them ready to go. Saquon, I saw something interesting. I think he only faced a stacked box on like a quarter of his carries or something like that. Didn't really see the box stacked that much with the threats of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown outside. But one thing that Spags is so good at to me is just being a strategist and realizing sometimes against these really good teams like the Niners, we can't stop all these guys. We're going to put our energy into stopping this guy. Obviously, you saw Christian McCaffrey have a good game last year, but Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, they didn't do much. Spags took them away. A few years prior, even Deebo was able to get his, but Kittle, same thing, wasn't able to get much going. Raheem Morris wasn't able to get much going. So I think Spags in these big time games is just great at taking away the guy that he thinks is going to be the focus and making the other guys, not focusing on taking away from the main guy, but taking away everybody else.
Yeah, I think the interesting part, let's talk about kind of the strengths, obviously, on the Eagles side of things. They have one of the best offensive lines. Now, maybe like this is the best offensive line stretch we've seen in a decade ever. This offensive line is never bad. They always have one of the top units, pass blocking, run blocking, whatever it is. This offensive line gets it done. They're always healthy, relatively healthy, I'll say that. And they're always developing Pro Bowl, all-pro talent, whoever it is. It just seems like a factory in Philadelphia. That unit is much better than the Chiefs' offensive line. And what I'll say about this is that despite the Eagles and everybody saying Jalen Hurts is probably the biggest weakness on this offense, guys, Hurts is not a bad quarterback by any means. We saw Hurts play pretty well against the Commanders last week. Where I am interested, you mentioned Spags, right? These blitzes are very, very tough to pick up for Jalen Hurts and company. I saw a reporter ask Hurts this about Hurts having to pick up the protections versus Kelce, and how that could change things. It could lead to a few open blitzers when the Chiefs need it most. I think the offensive line, despite them being great for the Eagles throughout the last decade, they're going to have to be even better than they normally are because I think Hurts struggles with processing and reading the field a little bit. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely going to be a game that Jalen Hurts has to get up for. He's going to have his antennas up the entire time for, something exotic from Spags, a simulated pressure from the field side, anything like that. I kind of have a weird feeling that Jalen Hurts is going to play actually pretty good. I personally, I'm not going to say what my prediction is yet, but I'm not sure he'll play the level he did in Super Bowl 57. In fact, I doubt it. But I think that Jalen Hurts will actually come out and have a pretty solid game. I think that if anybody's expecting him to just come out and lay an egg, I don't think that that's going to be the case.
Yeah, let's circle to the wide receivers and the Chiefs corners. Obviously, AJ Brown had a monster game last time they faced in the playoffs. Devonta Smith had his way too. Dallas Goddard has been really good in the postseason as well. This Kansas City secondary needs to be on their toes because, like you mentioned, Spags is going to find a way to take away Saquon. Whatever it takes, Saquon is not going to beat them. And I'm sure that's what they've talked about all week long. It is going to be Trent McDuffie one-on-one AJ Brown. It is going to be Jalen Watson one-on-one Devonta Smith most of the time. Or Devonta could be operating more in the slot this week, and we see Devonta having a good matchup against like Jamari Connor, Jaden Hicks, Nazeed Johnson, whoever is in that slot corner for the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs like to move around their secondary with that, but these guys need to win their one-on-one matchups for Philadelphia if they want a chance. If Saquon does not get going early in this game and it is 3rd and 8+, the Chiefs haven't necessarily been great on defense in these situations. I fully expect the Eagles to try to attack the middle of the field, that 10 to 15-yard range against this Chiefs defense, like we've seen teams do this postseason, and have a lot of success. Now, can Philadelphia replicate this, or does Kansas City say, look, they keep beating us here, maybe we give them the out routes this week. We prevent any sort of slot receiver from entering the middle of the field, and they want them to try to beat them on out routes. We'll see if the Chiefs make an adjustment. What do you think of these one-on-one matchups on the outside?
Yeah, I honestly actually don't think we're going to see a ton of AJ Brown and Trent McDuffie. I think we're going to see Jalen Watson maybe with some safety help throughout the game on AJ Brown. And I think that we'll see McDuffie spend a lot of his time on Devontae Smith. We've talked about it before on the pod. McDuffie kind of likes the speed matchups a little bit more, where he can just run with a guy and use his technique and not have to really try and outmuscle a receiver, which you wouldn't have to worry about with Devontae Smith, especially compared to AJ Brown. But one matchup, not a wide receiver, but I'm interested to see how the Chiefs defense does against Dallas Goddard, because at times this season, especially just with the way they call their defense, the linebackers have been forced into situations isolated on these tight ends, and some of the better receiving tight ends I feel like have been able to have some success against the Chiefs this year. I think back to Brock Bowers just tearing them up on Black Friday, and I know that Dallas Goddard is not at the level Brock Bowers is right now, but he's still ultimately really good, and he's been really good this playoff. So I actually think Dallas Goddard's a big guy to watch against this Chiefs defense on Sunday.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the Chiefs defense. We talked about Saquon Barkley earlier in the show. This linebacker group has to be good. Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, Leo Chenal. These guys have to have great games against Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts in the ground game. Look, the reality of the situation is the D-line needs to do their job as well, but the linebackers are going to have to be the ones making a play in space against Saquon and Jalen Hurts. They can't afford to miss tackles like they did at times last week. Right, the Chiefs do have the lowest missed tackle rate in the NFL, which bodes well for them against this Eagles team. But Saquon is a different animal. Jalen Hurts is a powerful runner of the football. I think the Chiefs linebackers are the true X factor for me in this matchup. I think that we see a lot more of Leo Chenal playing in this game compared to possibly having more of a nickel package out there. I think it'll be interesting to see if we get more Tershawn Wharton, if we get more Mike Pennell in this matchup. I think the Chiefs are going to go all out and trying to stop that run. What do you think of the Chiefs linebackers in this one?
Yeah, they're going to be tested. I mean, they haven't been the best this year, in my opinion, but they're an athletic group, and they've shown up before in big time games. One guy we really haven't noticed a whole lot of this postseason is Drew Tranquil. I know he's a little bit undersized in the middle, but he's a big run stuffer. Nick Bolton's great against the run, and Leo Chenal, you talked about, is just a really athletic linebacker. So I'm interested to see what that matchup looks like. But I will say, if these guys get put in space, I think it's going to be tough for them. If Saquon Barkley gets a linebacker with space around him and is able to make a move, that is where I think the Chiefs start to fall into a little bit of danger, because let's be real, Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, they're not going step for step with Saquon Barkley. They're probably not making the play if he puts a move on them, just one-on-one isolated in space. So I think that they need to keep him inside the tackles, keep mudding things up, and don't let him break to the outside where he can isolate himself against a linebacker or a DB even.
100%. Let's flip on the other side of the ball. The Chiefs offense versus the Eagles defense. Brady, what is the first matchup you're going to be looking at on this side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, all in all, I just want to see how the Chiefs do against the Eagles' man coverage. They've started to run a lot of man coverage and then a lot of cover four, I believe we said it was this postseason. And I've always said that, it's pick your poison with the Chiefs offense because Mahomes and Kelce, they dissect zone defenses. But a lot of the years they've had a ton of speed to beat man-to-man coverage, especially with teams that aren't quite as gifted as others in the back end. But I think the Eagles are going to play a lot of man coverage. I think they're going to blitz some in this game, not too much, but I think they're going to try and get pressure with 3-man, 4-man fronts, get up and play man-to-man coverage and just press these receivers because Xavier Worthy, we know he has a lot of speed. Hollywood Brown is fast, but all in all, between those guys and DeAndre Hopkins, you can't just let them have soft stuff underneath all day long. You can't keep letting them take advantage of short to intermediate. If I'm the Eagles, I am making you beat me vertically. And, I'm making you beat me with us, not bringing a ton of heat, not bringing a lot of blitzers and trying to get pressure just with a regular front, dropping more guys into coverage. I think that some teams get over antsy and they try to play the Chiefs game and blitz them to death. Mahomes tears up the blitz. And then, like I said, they try to play it safe sometimes with these cover 3, cover 4, dropping guys deep, playing soft zone coverages. I don't think that's going to be the case tomorrow. And it'll be interesting to see, how they fare in that regard.
Yeah, it's interesting. We watch back the film, right? This Eagles defense refuses to play cover 2. They're not going to change what they've been doing all season and change to a cover 2 look more than maybe 2.5% of the time. They haven't even hit the 1% mark in the regular season or the postseason this year. So what that means for the Chiefs offense, there's going to be a lot of short out routes open for this. And we've seen the Chiefs take advantage of this. Now, it hasn't been the most efficient and effective offense they've ran all year, but we've seen them do this a lot. And you mentioned the man coverage. This is where Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins have to be really good, right? These guys have to find a way to get open. And Xavier Worthy's been really good against man coverage as of late. Now, the vertical question, right? I think the Eagles' corners press more than they have all season long in this game. I think we see them try to get up on the receivers, get their hands on them early, try to slow them down at the line of scrimmage. I think that's probably going to help them in stopping them. I feel like if they play off ball like they did a lot in the NFC Championship game, trying to avoid the Commanders, because the Commanders beat them down the field a lot in both those matchups. If they try to do that against the Chiefs are going to pick them apart. I think Fangio is going to make an adjustment and throw those guys in press coverage a lot more against the Chiefs. And that's the interesting part about this Chiefs passing game. What do they have up their sleeve? Last week, they RPO'd the Bills to death. The week before, it was, we're only going to use our tight ends and running backs in the passing game. What is it this week they have in store that might be a little bit different?
I think it could be a more vertical attack. I think they could be the most aggressive we've seen them be all season, especially if they're getting these man opportunities. But I'm thinking the way it stacks up right now, I think we're going to get a lot of Darius Slay on DeAndre Hopkins, the two veterans. I think we'll see that matchup a lot. I think Quinyon Mitchell is going to be tasked with whichever one of Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy is on the outside. Whoever lines up on the inside, if it's Hollywood Brown more, I bet it'll be C.J. Gardner-Johnson over the top of him. And I think we're going to see some Cooper DeJean on Travis Kelce, which we talked to him about. So those are what I think happens in the back end. And you got to rely on your run stoppers that have been great all year, mainly Zach Bond, another guy that we got to talk to, and you got to talk to about him facing against this Chiefs run scheme. I think that they're going to try and stop the run like a lot of teams honestly have against the Chiefs recently. And they're just going to let their guys try and out-athlete the receivers in the back end.
Yeah, and what's interesting, you talk about the ground game a little bit in that matchup there. Bond mentioned that Isaiah Pacheco is the X factor that stands out for him outside of Mahomes and Kelce. Now, we haven't seen Pacheco have the explosiveness that he's had before that injury that happened this season. Now, Kareem Hunt has been really good for the Chiefs this postseason. Obviously, a ground game is a big part of Kansas City's trying to stay balanced. We all know they want to throw with Mahomes as much as possible because that gives them the best chance of winning. But having a balanced attack with Hunt and Pacheco is something they need to emphasize against an Eagles run defense that's amazing. Bond's been amazing. Jalen Carter's been amazing. That defense up front is amazing. And the Chiefs need to find a way, especially on the offensive line, push the ball 4 to 5 yards a carry, make it easier for this passing game to be able to dissect this Eagles defense. Let's talk about the other side of the ball for the Eagles, right? The defense. Brady, why do the Eagles defense have a great chance of stopping this Chiefs offense?
Well, like I just said, I think it'll be their run stoppers. I think that they're not going to let Kansas City dictate the tempo and just run the ball and you have these 7-8 minute drives. I think they're going to force the Chiefs to go on the attack. They're going to force Mahomes to make big time throws. They're not going to give him gimmies. They're not going to allow the run game to get established. And I think this is going to be a gritty, tough, grinded out type of game.
Yeah, I think the Eagles defense, right? They pass rush with speed. They have defensive linemen that just are faster than everybody else. And their linebackers, right? Burks plays fast. Bond, we know how great he's been this year. The safeties, right? I think the weakness for them is the safeties. If they can limit the plays over the top from the cornerback position and not rely on Reed Blankenship and CJ Gardner Johnson to pick it off over the top and rely on them deep in coverage, I think they're in a good spot. We know all about their corners. Quinion Mitchell's been great this year. Cooper DeJean's been great this year. This is all around an elite unit, and you have to feel comfortable. You have to feel confident. And from talking to them this week, they do feel confident that they have a chance of playing a great game against this Chiefs team. Let's talk about the last side of the field that doesn't get talked about a lot, but I feel like deserves to be mentioned with how the Chiefs have won some games in the postseason over the last few seasons. It's special teams, Brady. Talk about Nico Remigio and how Jake Elliott's potential struggles could play a big factor in this one.
Yeah, I'm not really too worried about Jake Elliott. I think that the bottom line is what you've seen from the 49ers in the past few years is field goals aren't going to get it done. I mean, Jake Elliott can't be the difference maker in this one. If you're going to beat the Chiefs, you're going to have to get the ball in the end zone probably at least 3 times. So I don't really worry that much about Jake Elliott, but I am interested in Remigio. That we've seen him have great returns in both games so far this postseason. I remember a couple years ago in the Eagles-Chiefs game, Kadarius Toney actually set the record for longest punt return in a Super Bowl against the Eagles. Obviously, Remigio is that same type of dynamic return man, so I think it'll be very interesting to see if he can get after it and get after this Eagles kick cover, punt cover units and just flip the field, make it a short field for Patrick Mahomes and company.
Yeah, the Eagles had to emphasize stopping the Chiefs on special teams. The Eagles' special teams unit's been pretty good this year. We saw them force a big fumble against the Commanders 2 weeks ago. So that unit's got to be prepared. They can't be taking the Chiefs' special teams lightly, and that's how the Chiefs continue to win games. They're just better coached than a lot of other teams. And let's talk about that coaching matchup. Sirianni and his staff versus Reed and his staff. What are you looking at between these matchups on both sides?
Yeah, I'm looking at Andy Reid versus Vic Fangio. I think Mahomes is something crazy like 8-0, 9-0 against Vic Fangio. But when you actually look deeper and look into the statistics for Mahomes in those games, like he has struggled individually in a lot of these games against a Vic Fangio defense. And Fangio obviously has been around for a long time. He has rejuvenated this Eagles defense that fell off a cliff the back half of last year. I think it'll be just fun to watch him and Andy Reid go after each other. Kellen Moore and Spags will be a good matchup, but I really like Spags there. I think that Fangio versus Reed is just 2 longtime coaches that are going to be, trying to get the last chess piece down and win the game. So that is the matchup I'm most interested in looking forward to. I think that Nick Sirianni has done a good job keeping this team together. I think he's done a good job managing the personalities and stuff like that. But I think that honestly, without sounding disrespectful to Nick Sirianni, like I don't think he is the guy that makes this thing go. I think it's the personnel they have, and I think that the coordinators are really, really good. I think sort of in a Dan Campbell type of way. He's a great leader of these guys. He kind of embodies, the personality of Philadelphia, kind of that a little bit of arrogance, that brashness. I think he kind of is a spearhead for them, but the guys that really make it go are Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio this season, in my opinion. So we know it's not the case for Andy Reid and the Chiefs. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's interesting. We saw, obviously, the rematch of Shanahan, Reed, in the Super Bowl last year, and now we're getting the rematch of Sirianni and Reed this year. And it's interesting because a lot of times in these matchups, the old coach still has that little bit of advantage, and the other team still has that little bit of advantage. I am interested to see how the Eagles come out in this one. Are they going to come out super fiery, ready to go, super energetic, and then we get to the third quarter and they're dead? All their energy is blown. We've seen this happen constantly against the Chiefs in the postseason. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be great. Both coaching staffs are well-rounded at this point. So now's the time you guys have all been waiting for at this point. It is prediction time. Brady, who is going to win the Super Bowl?
I'm flipping this one to you. I'm letting you go first. I'm reading over the script right this second.
Oh boy, oh boy. I'm going with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs just continually, and one of the things that I'll say about this, Patrick Mahomes is great against number one defenses in his career. Andy Reid is great against other coaches he's faced in the postseason multiple times. The Chiefs continue to find ways. It might not look pretty, but they continue to find ways on offense to pick apart the worst parts of great defenses. And with the Chiefs, I don't even think they need to score 28, 30, 35 points in this game. They could win with 27 points if their defense plays well. And we've seen this Eagles offense. I know this postseason has been a little different, but their offense has not been consistent all season in producing points. I think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl 27-24. What do you got, Brady?
Yeah, I actually have the exact same score. So I think the Chiefs.
That's crazy.
I think the Chiefs are going to go down the field on their first drive. I think they're going to score. It's going to be a touchdown to Travis Kelce to set the pace. I think the Eagles go and get a field goal, make it 7-3. Then the Chiefs get one back, make it 10-3. I think this one gets tied up 10-10 right before the half. I think we come out of the break. Eagles get the ball, score. Saquon Barkley makes it 17-10. After that, Chiefs tack on a field goal, 17-13. Then we get a touchdown from the Chiefs to make it 20-17. Eagles get a touchdown to take the lead with about 3-4 minutes to go, making it 24-20. And Mahomes drives the Chiefs down the field. They score with less than 30 seconds to go to make it a 27-24 victory. I think that Patrick Mahomes will be the MVP of this game. I think Travis Kelce, I think he could call it quits after tomorrow. I think they could get this three-peat, and it could be the last time we see number 87. I know we said it last year, and I know that he said that he's not thinking about it until the offseason, but I think that he could go out on top if they get this done tomorrow. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. And the Eagles, just like the 49ers both times, are going to fall short both times that they face the Chiefs in this game. I think it cements Mahomes as the second greatest of all time. I think he's still got a ways to go to get to Brady, but at this point, he's outpacing him. If he gets this ring, moves to 4-1 in the Super Bowl with just the one loss to Brady. And I think that the Chiefs are cemented as the probably second best dynasty in NFL history at that point.
You know what's interesting? We were talking about this the other day. Mahomes is at all three of the Super Bowl wins. He's been down 10 points. That's crazy. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So if the Chiefs are down at 10 points in some point in this game, and we're like, man, this is the time the Chiefs are going to lose in the Super Bowl and the playoffs, the streak is going to end. Just go bet them. Go bet them live. Get good odds. Just go take them. I mean, Mahomes, for some reason, they just have to get their mouth kicked in a little bit, and then for some reason they turn it on. And then by the end of the game, they have the ball last and then go make a play, just like your script said.
I am really surprised at how many analysts and experts I see picking the Eagles. I feel like for me at least, I've seen this too many times. I've done this myself sometimes, picking against these guys when it feels like they're kind of out-rostered. I think in these big games, I've always said it comes down to who has the better coach and who has the better quarterback. I think the Chiefs have the better of both, and I think they're just the best team in the NFL at situational football. People talk about, oh, they're not leading the league in passing. They're not leading the league in offense. They're not leading the league in offensive yardage. They're not the best defense, but what they lead at, what they're the best at is situational football, converting third downs, getting third and short, forcing other teams into a mistake before they make one, and that's why I think that they're going to be victorious tomorrow. And I honestly will be shocked if the Eagles win. I'm not saying that they have no chance. Obviously, I have them losing by 3, but it's just tough for me to envision the Eagles winning this game. I don't know why,
and,
but it just kind of
one
feels
of the
like
interesting reports, too, is there is an illness going around the team right now.
Jalen Carter and them. I don't think that'll really play a factor. I think they'll be good to go. I mean, these guys are pros. We've seen Michael Jordan with the flu game, for example.
That's a different cat, though. That's a different cat.
We'll see how it goes. I don't think it's going to have a bearing on the game, but I do think that the Chiefs are going to win. And if not, I mean, that's a crazy story. If the Eagles do get the victory, it's, to me, on par with Super Bowl 52, taking down the Patriots. It would be crazy to see, the Eagles get underdog victories against the two greatest dynasties ever.
Yeah, it would be interesting for sure. So that is it, folks. Me and Brady will be tying for a picks record for the season. Next year, we'll have to go back, hit the drawing board, see where we can get a one-up on each other next year.
What was the final tally here?
I don't think I had the 91 games.
193 and 91 was
193 and
was
91.
our record.
Next year we will go undefeated. We won't get a game wrong for you guys. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the bold prediction of Blitz of 2025. 0 missed games during the season. So if you guys don't want to miss any of your betting picks, if you guys are interested in getting more Super Bowl exclusive interviews, hit that subscribe button for more Blitz Sports Media content. Me and Brady will catch you guys next time.